All right, good evening and welcome to your Keynoter TV news show. This is the longest running news show in the Florida Keys. This is our 680th episode. My name's Sean Kinney. Join me in the studio tonight to have two folks from Key West Free Beaches, which is a naturist organization, and they're pushing to get a clothing optional beach designated here in Key West. This is Tracy, Leigh, the chairwoman of the organization, and Alan, and he is the director of the organization. So Tracy, can you tell me a little bit about how you got started down here in the Keys?
Well, we left Central Florida, Tampa Bay area, a large nudist area, and we got on our sailboat. We came down here thinking we would be able to expound on our lifestyle down here. And after the closing of Atlantic Shores, we found that there was nowhere for us to go and have a clothing optional experience. If Alan wanted to go to a guest house, it would be a men's guest house, and I couldn't go. Or I could go to a woman's guest house, and he couldn't go. So we were like, we were really frustrated and decided we're just going to go to Tortola. So I get a phone call 3 weeks before we're ready to leave for Tortola, and it's the former founder of South Florida Free Beaches.
Richard Mason.
Richard Mason.
Okay.
And yeah, and he called through Portside Tom, who started the free beach movement in Miami, what, 26 years ago or something. And Portside says, "You want to do a beach?" And I said, "Well, I guess we're not going to Tortola." So that's basically how it started here, with us staying and acquiring a beach and supporting it.
And the group is, they're online at www.kwfb, Key West Free Beaches, just the letters though, .org, and you can get some information about that. But y'all are an active group, you're building your membership, you have meetings on a regular basis. How many members do you have?
Right now, we've got seven members that are on our board. But that's just a start.
Right.
So we're going to but South Florida Free Beaches stands at probably 80,000 members.
Okay.
And that's our parent organization.
We mentioned a moment ago Richard Mason, and he started South Florida Free Beaches several decades ago and worked really hard. In 1991, he got Hallover Beach, or at least part of it, in the North Miami area designated as clothing optional, and that's been a resounding success and is the basis of kind of y'all's pitch down here is the economic end of this. So can you tell me about the economics and what they're seeing in Hallover and maybe how that can translate into Key West?
Well, the thing with Hallover Beach is it was a zero productive money pit for the county and for the entire area. It was a cesspool of crime, and the law said that we could designate. So Shirley and Richard Mason designated a portion of Hallover Beach as a clothing optional area. And in that time, that beach has not gone from a deficit but an asset. Last year's revenue was $1.997 million, I believe, just in parking revenue alone.
Wow.
So they're seeing close to 1.3 million visitors a year just to go to Hallover Beach. The indirect values are people that are buying properties.
Right.
You have a lot of building going on, people buying condos, just because they have the freedom to go to a clothing optional.
And I know the number that I hear again and again is around that $700, $800 million range, but I think that's a little more encompassing figure that includes the parking revenue and things like sales tax and concessions and tourist-generated tax and stuff. So how does that translate to Key West? Obviously, Miami's a much bigger tourist draw, but obviously we get a lot too.
Right.
So.
I wouldn't say that they're a bigger tourist draw. I would say that we are the most northern Caribbean point. So we have our own things that draw tourists to us, and being a beach. The numbers that when we broke them down we have 24,000 people that live here in Key West, and that's about 6%. So I took that, and that would be about 1,000 people, 1,100 people that live here in Key West would be able to utilize a clothing optional beach. Now, the other numbers broke down to anywhere between 28 and 25%, and I translated those at about 18% for a margin of error. So we're looking at anywhere between 48 and 49,000 just Florida tourists coming at, per diem is about $180 a day. And just those numbers break down to $8.5 million a year. And that's just in Florida tourism. Outside of Florida, we have anywhere between 16 million to $18 million a year for just outside Florida, and outside of the United States, it runs about $11 to $12 million. And that's just in the per diem aspect. Now, there was a survey done at Hollover who spent over $2,000 per day, and it was about 12% of those. So it translates out after about a year of the beach being in effect at $81 million to the growth of our economy.
And I want to get back to this because I think this is an important point. You said earlier when you and Alan came down here, you know, you couldn't have the experience together because you have to go to a men-only guest house and stuff like that. But what y'all are shooting for here is a family naturist beach. Can you tell me about that, Alan?
What we're looking for in the beach is a naturist beach, which is family-oriented. You know, there's no sexual perversions. You know, they're clean beaches. You know, we have, as in Hollover, they have what they call beach ambassadors, which are kind of like a citizens patrol group. You know, they're volunteers that they're trained. They work with the police department and the fire department and such, and they're trained to spot, you know, inappropriate behavior. You know, not only sexual behavior, but inappropriate. You know, people bringing glass on the beach, people playing their radios too loud. Using the beach as an ashtray. Yeah, using the beach as an ashtray. You know, it goes on, but you know, they're trained to, you know, watch out for, you know, men who are, you know, on the sexual prowl and intervene in that. And Miami has worked very, very successfully. I mean, to the point that South Beach, Miami, which has less visitors than Hollover Beach, has approximately 60 arrests a month. Hollover Beach has been 3 years since they've had an arrest.
Wow.
And they've only had 3 in 18.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there's been a trend, which Richard Mason told us recently, there's been a trend of younger girls coming to the beach, you know, 16 through early 20s, and they go to the beach, they don't take their clothes off, you know, they lay out in their bikinis, and they started, you know, talking to them, saying, why do you come here? You know, obviously you're not participating in the clothing optional aspect of it, and they said they come there because they're safe.
Wow. So that Beach Ambassador program, and there's a lot of material out there ranging from the endorsement of the mayor of Miami Beach to the city commissioners to the police chief, and they just say that program is hands down giving them almost an area that they don't even have to police. Plus you're seeing these people being wonderful stewards of the environment and really taking care and taking a lot of pride in their beach. So that family aspect, I think that's really misunderstood because there's a clear separation between sexuality and nudity. And that message absolutely gets distorted, I think, in the legislative process. But, you know, and we need to talk about this law. I think we're going to have to wait till our next commercial break. But the law in Florida is it's pretty interesting, and it seems fairly open-ended to what you're trying to do here. And we'll have more on that when we get right back. And my name's Sean Kinney. You're watching the Keynoter TV show, and we're talking about naturist beaches. Stick with us.